Hi, everybody. Good evening. You can see my cat washing himself handsomely over here. How are all of you? Just over. I really, I didn't know you could just turn everything off, but I guess you can. Uh, Good to know. We all learn new things every day. So this week I learned that we could all just stop. Uh, yeah, so that's fun. I have a glass of wine. I hope you do too. You might be able to hear the dulcet tunes of Final Fantasy VIII in the background. That is my anti-anxiety music, the piano version of the Final Fantasy VIII soundtrack, which probably dates just exactly how old I am. Um, yeah, so I apologize for looking awful. I think the way I look tonight just sums up exactly what I am and am not willing to do for you guys. Hi, Pope. Hi, Agnes. Because like, am I willing to put on makeup? Yes. Am I willing to get out of PJs? Yeah, not really. I am in PJs. I just put a shawl on over it so it would look like I wasn't. Um, am I willing to wash my hair and blow dry it so that my fringe behaves? No, no, I'm not willing to do that. Not at all. Yeah, no, I mean, it's all a mess here. I am so jet lagged. It is unbelievable. Coming back from Australia, which is where I was. For those of you who don't follow me on Twitter, I was in Australia from end of sort of close to the end of February until a couple days ago. So I was in Australia when all of this kind of hit the fan. We were obviously aware of coronavirus and everything before we went. We actually changed our flight because we originally were supposed to go through Hong Kong. We wouldn't even be back if we'd gone through Hong Kong like we were supposed to. Um, so we were aware of it, but somewhere in between visiting family, my partner's family, we took the baby home to meet grandparents and everything. And everybody kind of turned up for a family reunion from all over the country. And somewhere around, we were very distracted by the family reunion. Like everything just went straight to hell in America. Though weirdly enough, though things have not gone straight to hell in Australia yet, they were all hoarding toilet paper way before us. We arrived on February 26th and there was already no toilet paper, but there were also no cases of coronavirus. So like, I don't know, they're just way on trend there in Australia. Yeah, get back. Um, we did without much problem other than my small and adorable child deciding to fully embody the spawn of Satan on the second flight. There are two 13-hour flights, which is Satan's work anyway. And then, Sebastian just decided that he had it, and I don't blame him. Unfortunately, it's a very cramped seating when a baby decides he's done and wants to leave and can't. It was a lot. But nobody got pitched out a emergency exit, so that's fine. So anyway, uh, we were still around a bunch of people we don't know where they were. So we are straight up self quarantining for 14 days here in the house. Yay! It's very strange. I know everybody's having this same kind of strange experience. Um, the island is very quiet, and it's quiet here usually, but it's very quiet. Um, Nobody's really coming out. We all kind of feel like the island is a pretty safe place to be, but at the same time, we're also super aware that people are coming here from New York and Massachusetts because they're like write it out in their summer home, which neat. Really just love that multiple homes lifestyle. So like, and somebody here is like posting to Nextdoor about how they can't wait to see us all because they're coming. I don't know. Everything's very odd, and the world is uh, just the world's live streaming is what it is. There is, I don't even remember what book it is, but there's one of the Foundation adjacent books by Asimov where there's a whole culture that somebody in the chat will know. There's a whole culture that never actually makes physical contact with each other. Everything is remote in their world. It's considered a huge social faux pas to like actually show up at anybody's house. And I always found that really fascinating. And I think about that, even though I can't remember the name of the species. I think about that all the time as the internet becomes more and more embedded in our lives. And now I feel like maybe that is how that happened to that culture. Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's in Foundation and Earth. And yeah, I just always found it's not even a particularly big part of the book, but I always found it fascinating. And I feel like in some ways that's where we're headed, you know? A lot of us are going to figure out whether we can work from home or not. I, of course, already work from home. Um, Welcome to the weird life that I normally live. Um, but we're going to find out how much of our world can run when we are not in physical contact with each other. And some of that will be good, and some of that will be straight terrible. So we all just kind of wait and see. But for me, it just feels so different than the 2008 crash, which was traumatic and terrifying. But like everybody kind of had this idea that it was our fault. We all know what happened. But you could have a narrative that it was people's fault. But this is nobody's fault. And there's nobody you can point to where you're like, oh, well, they're good, they're fine. A virus affects everybody. It is the ultimate equalizer. And there's nothing other than staying put that anyone can do to stop it. But even in stopping it, the economy is still probably going to go completely down the shithole. Um, so it's just this slow motion train wreck. But other than the people who are posting on Instagram about the parties they're going to, there's nobody particularly at fault except coronavirus itself. The, you know, world's sexiest virus 2020. Um, yeah, so I've been working all day. I did a flash fiction short story about the plague, modern plague, for Serial Box today. And then I started doing this, both this and this. This is the first time I've ever done one that's listed publicly. I don't usually do that. Usually this is all locked down to my patrons. A certain tier can ask questions, then everybody else gets to watch it and be in the chat. And that's always worked fine. But I figure that since a lot of us, including me, don't have as much to do as usual, we could all use a little, I don't know. I wouldn't presume to call myself comfort viewing, but we could use a little company. So I decided to open it up. You can ask questions in the chat. I am going to go through the ones that were asked through official channels here with my trusty phone that doesn't want to check my Face ID. For those of you who've never seen one of these before, I don't actually read the questions beforehand, which leads to hilarity occasionally, as I can't think of words for things or foundation books or whatever. Yeah, Nimue says people are still looking for someone to blame the virus on. Well, I mean, we'd all love the virus response can be blamed on a lot of people, but like viruses happen. I guess bad bat, don't eat pangolins, something like that. I mean, how good can bats be? Why do I keep that? I understand that protein sources are rare in many parts of the world, but like bats, man, there's not even a lot of good eating on bats. I don't know. Hey, Sarah. Hi. Oh, I miss you. From other Portland. Okay, so why don't we get started here? Elizabeth has a shit ton of questions about Christmas. We often sort of hold on to this until there's enough questions to do a Q&A. So some of these are a little old. Whew, okay. What's your favorite thing about Christmas? My favorite thing about Christmas this year was not ever having heard the word coronavirus or social distancing or self-isolation or any of it. Nor did I have to think about anything with regards to the word corona other than a pretty shitty Mexican beer. So that was my favorite thing about Christmas. I like the food. I've now moved to a part of the country that has snow, so I like the first snow. I just like the sort of feeling of Christmas and sort of winding down of the year. It's stressful because you know it usually involves entertaining other human beings. I've gone back to see my family for a couple of Christmases recently, and that's nice. That's good. I get to cook less, take a little break from that. But yeah, I like all the crap that goes with Christmas. Plus, it's like a blank check for glitter. You can have as many fairy lights and glitter as you want. I know, right, Heather? Christmas was so long ago. My sister's name is Heather. not this Heather. So it's like I'm home again. What's my least favorite Christmas song? It has got to be a toss up between Santa Baby and Baby It's Cold Outside. Um, Baby It's Cold Outside, for obvious reasons, it's the rapiest song ever. I know people try to argue now that it's not rapey, that like apparently what's in this drink is like a cool thing to say in the 50s. Uh, no. It doesn't really matter whether it's roofing or just like putting way more alcohol than you implied into a drink. You're still, uh, it's not cool. It's not okay. Plus, it doesn't. Someone trying to coerce another girl into sex, even if it's sort of supposed to be playful and there's supposed to be consent in there somewhere. It doesn't really put me in the Christmas spirit. And Santa Baby is just about a girl trying to get money off a sugar daddy. God bless us, everyone. Yeah, no, I hate Santa Baby. Uh, Most undersung Christmas movie. Well, I love Hogfather, and I watch it every year. That's definitely a big favorite of mine, and I make pork pies and sherry, and it's God 12 years now been a tradition. So that's definitely my Christmas movie for the ages. We also like to watch Lion in Winter, which is a Christmas movie. It takes place on Christmas. The whole plot happens because of Christmas. Eleanor of Aquitaine gets released from prison for the Christmas holiday. People are wrapping presents and everything. So as long as Die Hard gets counted, so does Lion in Winter. It's a pretty grim family story, but the dialogue is so great. Have any Earth holiday songs of any kind caught on in the galaxy in the space opera universe before the events of the book? The is because A Christmas Carol plays a pretty big part in the end of space opera. See, and this is why maybe I should start reading the questions beforehand, because when you ask about canon in my own books, it pays to kind of have some time to think about that. Yeah, well, I mean, the whole idea is it's the worst song that the songs that humans think are worse or the aliens like. So let's say Six White Boomers, which is an Australian Christmas carol about how kangaroos pull Santa's sleigh in Australia. Let's say that. How do filmmakers in the Radiance universe, another canon question, set a winter holiday feel? And is it affected by the different seasons people live in there? Oh, God damn it. I can't answer that without time to think about my planets. I wrote that book like 6 years ago now. And it would have their own traditions that came from the country that's colonized the planet and the weather on the planet. But I think one of the themes of Radiance is kind of inspired by Australia again. I wonder why I write about Australia these days. Because like in Australia, there are things called crows. They're not crows. There are things called seagulls. They're not our seagulls. There are all kinds of things called things that we have, but they are not the same species at all. It's just that British people really either didn't have a lot of imagination or were very homesick and were like, it's black, it's a bird, crow's good enough. And even though Christmas is in summer in Australia, they still have fake snow on shit and like sell snow globes and snowy ornaments and everything. So I think fake snow would be the unifying element of all planets in the Radiance universe on Christmas. They would have some version of fake snow, flocked snow everywhere. The cat is Lord Byron. This is just his fluff. He is upside down here. Put your head up. No. Hello. I'm a total jerk who keeps people up at night. I was saying that I was jet lagged. I'm jet lagged because Perth is 12 hours now after daylight saving time ahead, and the baby doesn't understand that. You can't talk a baby into like sleeping at weird hours, or no, he's just angry. He doesn't know why he feels bad. So I've been up since 2 a.m. So a little manic, a little out to lunch. Please excuse me if I lose the plot. We've got a lot going on in chat. Yes, that's the critter is Byron. Bush ravens, big blackbirds. Ooh, I haven't seen a bush raven. That sounds awesome. Bright blue eyes. That's amazing. I'm completely obsessed with Australian fauna. They're so awesome. Okay, have I read T. Kingfisher's take on the Snow Queen? I have not. What is your hot take on the little match girl? My hot take on the little match girl is Hans Christian Andersen is fucked in the head. That guy had so many issues. Like, dude, seriously, he was a very repressed gay who was like a stalker stan of the Brothers Grimm. He literally threw himself on their doorstep at one point and was like, "Senpai, please notice me." He was a super freak. And a lot of his stories are just about the most depressing version of Christianity you can imagine, that's all cloaked in this notion that it's not the most depressing version of Christianity, that these things are good. And that's what the little match girl is. Like, the whole plot of this story is girl dies. That's it. Like, a little girl is selling matchsticks, nice visions of a fireplace and her grandmother and heaven, I guess. But like, there's no necessarily sense in the story that those are not hallucinations. Like, it doesn't say they are, but it doesn't say they aren't. And then, like, people come and see the poor girl's dead corpse and are like, "Oh, poor people are sad. Let's go have our plum pudding." And it's, I guess, sad that they don't know that she had hallucinations. Cool. Thanks for that information, Hans Andersen. Go write your grim fanfic. It's not that I don't think he's a genius in many ways, but like, if you read Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales, they are not all winners. For every Snow Queen, there are a lot of weird shit about sentient roses, but not like the cool kind that participate in Space Eurovision. Anyway, Jeremy says Hans Christian Andersen apparently also threw himself on the ground crying in front of Dickens' house because he was sad Dickens didn't like his work. He is such a weird dude. Like, he is an OG geek, but like the one no one wants to hang out with at cons because he makes everyone super uncomfortable. But everybody knows him. You're like, "Oh, Hans is here again. Oh no, he can't come to dinner with us. It's too weird. It's too weird. Avert, avert." Yes, Elizabeth, when it comes to fairy tales, I always have a hot take. Elizabeth hopes I and the family have a lovely holiday. We did, and wishing the best in the new year. Haha, we didn't. Catherine King asks, live many years, live theater and me are BFFs. What is one of my favorite Shakespeare renditions I've seen on the stage? Now, I did see this question pop up in my notification, so I tried to think about it, and I was like, huh. all all of the most memorable Shakespearean productions I can think of that I saw are super bad. And I'm like, have I ever seen Shakespeare that I didn't hate on stage? The answer, fortunately, is yes. And Heath remembered one of my stories when I had forgotten it. So I used to go to Ashland all the time. As a kid, my mom would take us every year. So that's the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. It's a very big deal if you're a theater nerd and American and on the West Coast. I assumed it, I was so obsessed with it as a kid, I just assumed it was a worldwide thing. It is so not. But it is a whole town devoted to Shakespeare that is not Stratford upon Avon. So I actually have seen most of Shakespeare's plays performed on stage, years over years. So some of the ones I've seen are truly terrible, and the one that I always remember is a production of Hamlet. Now, in Ashland, there's the big Elizabethan theater outside, and they do always period gear and everything. They're not concept shows. And then they have the Agnes Baumer Theater, which is inside, and that's where they do all the weird conceptual Shakespeare and non-Shakespeare plays. They do some Shakespeare plays outside too. But so this was in the Agnes Baumer Theater, and I was a teenager, so I was at like peak I know everything about everything. And the concept was the single line in Hamlet, "The time is out of joint," which meant that everybody was wearing a different era costume. So like Hamlet was in regular Renaissance gear, and then Laertes was a World War II soldier, and then Gertrude was in Jackie's pink pillbox outfit from JFK's assassination. It was like a whole weird thing. Laertes pulled his gun at one point. It was just a mess. I hated it. I hated it so much. I hated it so much that I was literally 14 years old, and I still hate it so much today. And I was in ninth grade as well when I saw that. Robin said she saw Othello there. However, I also saw around that same time, it wouldn't have been the same year, but a little before or a little after, Richard II in that outdoor theater. Now, Richard II is nobody's favorite Shakespeare play. However, there's not going to be any, Pacino movies of Richard II. It's just not. It's very good, but it's It's very intellectual, and this was just wonderful. And the odd thing is, Richard II was the same guy who'd played Hamlet in the play that I hated, which is one of the cool things about Ashland. Yeah, so that's a brief history of two Shakespeare plays, not alike in dignity. Agnes has another Christmas question. Do I have any Christmas traditions that I can share? So my family does this thing with rice pudding, which I always thought was just our family thing. But then on Making Light, which is a real blast from the past, Making Light is a blog run by Teresa Nielsen Hayden and Patrick Hayden. And it was like a huge deal on the early internet. And I haven't seen people linking to it lately, but it's still there. And so I read on there that it's actually this whole Danish thing. My dad's family is Danish, having to do with house elves. But so every year, there's somebody makes rice pudding. I've never actually seen anyone make it. I assume it comes out of a box. Everybody gets a little cup of the rice pudding, and in one of the cups is a sliver of almond. And whoever gets the sliver gets a prize. Now, I have a pretty big family, which means that I have won exactly twice in my entire life. And my Uncle Doug, who is, my uncle, so quite a bit older than me, won this year for the first time. And yet someone had forgotten to buy a prize for it. So he won and then didn't get a prize. Oh, it's the saddest story I've ever heard. It's a sad, sad Christmas story. But yeah, so that's our sort of unique Christmas tradition. I'm sure that we have other ones that I'm not to do the New Year's thing that she claimed to be Irish. She claimed a lot of things were Irish, including us, and we are not. But like with the black every New Year's. But yeah, no, I'm sure we have other ones, but the rice pudding thing is the main one. What are some of my favorite bookstores in Seattle? Elliott Bay Books is great. University Bookstore is awesome and run by a very passionate bookseller. Third Place Books is just absolutely fantastic with a great name as well. Seattle is just full of really, really wonderful bookstores. So honestly, you throw a rock and you'll find a really great one. Deborah says, sorry, I have a very serious writing question. When you do something based on other texts like Last Town Game, how much research do you do before writing? As in, do you write your story first, what you can, when you have a story in mind, and then go back and fill in research gaps? Ugh, gross. Oh, it's unsanitary. Or do you read everything first, mull it over, and spill the story and characters on the page in a gulp, or something in between, struggling to figure out when to give it and write myself, or whether I should do more reading first? No, I do my research first. The vast majority of my research. I'll have to go back and check things here and there, but the vast majority of my research comes beforehand. I like the whole idea of just like writing what I can and then going back and infilling research is just abhorrent to me. I don't think I could do that at all. Glasstown Game was a lot of research. It's for those of you who haven't read it, it's about the Bronte siblings, of which there were 4. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of lives. And 3 of them wrote a bunch of books. And then there's the entire world of the early 1800s, which is a whole separate kind of realm of research. And one of the ways that manifested was I wrote this early scene with this kind of magical goblin-y train. And I liked the scene and I was fine with it and about to move on. And something in the back of my brain went, yeah, it's 1828. Are there trains yet? Because when you think of the 19th century, the prevalence of steampunk and everything else of this kind of stories that get told about that era, you go mid to late 19th century. Early 19th century, most of the stuff we associate with that is not invented yet or around. And the answer is only just literally the year 1828 was freight service available to Yorkshire, which is where it's set. So I had to do all of that kind of research sort of as I was going along. I was trained as a historian, so I'm pretty good with most eras, and England particularly, because that's how hegemonic history works. But it was so much to hold in my head, and I actually had a real hard time starting the book because how much I knew about the Brontes and how just the overload of information in the front of my head was sort of getting in the way of beginning a story compellingly for children who really do not give a crap that I have a PhD's worth of research about the Brontes under my belt. So yeah, you do have to give in and write, but you need to have enough information to at least go on with. Um, so yeah, I do a lot of pre-work. Not all of my books require a lot of research. Radiance didn't require a ton, some, but not a ton. And if I'm doing historical stuff, obviously there's a lot of research there, but I don't always write historical stuff. So books take a couple of years to plan if I have a lot of research, but if not, it all comes along a lot faster. Okay. On to Sean. 4 questions. 1, will there be a garden this year? Oh God, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, everything seems so uncertain right now. Like, will there be summer this year? I don't know. Everything that I thought I understood about life on planet Earth has been thrown into disarray. Like, uh, is Lowe's going to be open in time for me to plant? I don't know. Uh, I didn't have one last year or the year before because of the baby. I think I probably would have the energy for it this year, at least for, some stuff, but I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But if we are going to sort of revert to a medieval world, which seems to be where we're heading, I should probably start growing my own food again. So probably at least somewhat. We also seem to be having a super warm spring. I don't know about you guys, but it was like 60 degrees on Friday here. So I think that we can probably get stuff in the ground. One of the challenges, gardening porn, one of the challenges of growing food in Maine is that we have a very short growing season. You are done by sort of mid-August. So the sooner you can get things in the ground, the better, but you always run the risk of a surprise frost up until sort of late May. So it's kind of a gamble. If you want to plant earlier, you might be able to get more growing time in, but you also may lose everything. Yay! So yeah, I mean, we'll at least do some flowers. I did flowers last year. That was what I asked for my birthday. Was for my mother-in-law was flowers to plant. So I had lovely flowers that lasted almost all the way through to November. So that was cool. And we do try to grow moonflowers here every year, which grow in said mother-in-law's garden in Australia. And I love them and I'm totally obsessed with them. And we've planted them for 2 years. And the first year we got flowers, and the second year we got nothing. We got big green vines. So we'll see what happens. Do I start seeds indoors? I used to. I have a toddler now, so I do not do that. And before I had a toddler, I had very curious cats. So I didn't feel like there was really anywhere safe to do starter plants inside. But maybe in a couple of years when Sebastian's old enough to enjoy the process and learn something from it and like listen to me when I say, please do not put this entire starter plant in your mouth with the dirt. Then I'll be able to do that again. Hopefully. All right. Number 2. It's impossible to know, but do you have any thoughts on how many cons will get canceled in the near-term future? Even as far out as Worldcon, I feel like cancellation is an option. Have you heard anything? Cons are absolutely getting canceled. Emerald City Comic Con was canceled. Anything that's happening right now, I would say anything that's happening before the end of May is getting canceled or pushed back. I'm supposed to be a guest of honor at a convention in Poland in May. That's been pushed back to July. Supposedly I'm going to be at Houston Comic Con in May and they haven't canceled it yet, but I just can't believe it's going to go forward. While Christ, I hope the world is back in business by late August. We may not even be able to get the planning people over there now and in the near term to do what needs to be done to get everything ready. These things, they don't run on rails. They take a lot of people, and not all of them are people who live in the host country. They go back and forth. And I think a bigger problem for Worldcon might be that people aren't necessarily going to have the money to go that they thought they would if they have to take a significant amount of time off work. Yes, disgruntled kitty Disgruntled kitty over here, as Mario points out. Disgruntled kitty was left alone for 3 weeks with a dog he does not like, and has been very vocal about his feelings on the topic and the quality of my person, my my mother, my criminal history, my value as a mother to him. It's a lot. It's a lot. He has a lot to say. Yep, there he goes. Uh, he is furious, as you can see. He's just showing us his butt. That's cat for furious. And he says, "Don't touch my butt. Don't don't point out to them my secret signs." But I do love him. He's literally the greatest cat. I love Mr. Byron. He's a good boy. Yes, we're talking about canceling cons. A lot's going to get canceled. And I mean, New Zealand is a huge cost. We thought I'm not going to. We knew we weren't going to be able to go. Even going to Australia is a massive cost, and we thought about doing it around then to try and combine it with New Zealand. But even getting to New Zealand from Australia is a really significant ticket. Like if people don't realize that they're very far apart still. It's like flying from here to Ottawa or something like that, and further. These are not necessarily cheap plane tickets, even so. So yeah, I think that the summer cons are going to be a problem. I was thinking today about ReaderCon, about whether ReaderCon is going to be able to go ahead in its normal time frame, and I don't know. I don't know. You know, I'm not privy to a lot of these discussions. And the thing is that nobody can know right now. Right now, we just don't know when this is going to end. People seem to acting like this is all going to be over on March 31st. That the schools are closed till March 30th, daycare is closed till March 30th, everything's closed till March 30th, as though on the 31st suddenly everything's going to be fine because that was 14 days from when they decided to close things off. Well, that's the incubation period so far as we know. But I mean, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean any of this is going to be okay. Like cases are still doubling every couple of days. Like we're still in the exponential growth phase and it's March 22nd. Like things are not going to be better on the 31st, but nobody knows how long society can just stop for. So it's really hard to say what cons are going to be pushed off because we don't know when this is going to end and more than 10 people are going to be allowed to congregate again. So it's just really hard to tell. And then you have to think about what the follow-on effects psychologically is going to be for all of us. Are we going to be that foundation culture where suddenly everyone has social anxiety? It's not just us geeks, like everyone has social anxiety because we all have this traumatic event in our past where we weren't supposed to be near other human beings. Like the effect this is going to have on all of us and our desire to be in large groups, our comfort level about large groups is just something nobody can even begin to guess at by now. So M Bank says ReaderCon's in a holding pattern according to an email I got, but wouldn't be surprised if it got canceled. I mean, that's the thing. I wouldn't be surprised either. WisCon's at the end of May, and I wouldn't have a great feeling about that either. Uh, it's, I mean, nothing can be known. Nothing can be known. Uh, Publishing, we all have a really good job. Feel the crunch. It's not going to. And the last time we had an economic crash, I couldn't sell a book for a year and a half. So allow me to take this opportunity to see everybody fed. So again, every time I try to thank you guys, like gratitude is not the right word. It is so much more than that. I deeply appreciate it. Deeply appreciate your company and your faith and your support because I don't know. It comes after maternity leave, which is trying to figure out some way to balance life with book and life with child. And I'm just finally getting back into it, where I've written half a novel and 2 short stories in the last like 6 weeks, and that's like my normal, back to my normal self. And then all of this happens, and like I can't be sure of anything. So it's all very terrifying. Josephine just said she's surprised at how much she's affected by not having things to look forward to. And I definitely feel that. too, because it's like what I mean, I'm stuck for 14 days, but after that, it's still gonna be we're still gonna be doing what we did last night, which is this island stepping out on their porches and ringing bells for each other to let everyone know we're still here and we're all sad together. And then whoever rings and we're still gonna be doing that. That's still gonna be us. And like, all the live streams from all the celebrities in the world, I don't count myself in that, so I'm not a celebrity, um, aren't gonna make that more dealable for people who are extroverts whose lives depend on it. My brother's a chef and he's been out on culture, on top of all of it. Oh, Mario says a lot of buffering on the stream, but good to be hanging out with everyone. Sorry, it's buffering. Uh, we'll let it buffer while I have another sip. This wine, by the way, appeared as if by magic um, on my doorstep because of my sister-in-law who shipped us a couple of breakable Christmas presents and put a bunch of bottles of wine from her winery in it. So I came home, and though there was no food in the house except for the groceries that one of my friends went and scraped up from a store for us, there was plenty of wine, which is just top sister-in-law service. I should have used the glass that she sent me. That was her Christmas gift. It's like I really should have. It's sitting over in the kitchen. Uh, but yeah, so thank you, Miranda, for my wonderful wine. Jessica says she loved seeing that the ringing bells and the very community. It is very lonely. Uh, I posted on Nextdoor that other islanders could come in on the stream tonight. So I hope that there's somebody who lives near me watching right now. Hi, uh, miss everybody, miss the cafe, uh, miss the Legion, miss the Inn, miss Trivia Night, uh, miss the Gull. Hannigan's just reduced their hours. That's our island shop. I don't think Hannigan. I mean, the time I've lived here, Hannigan's never changed its hours. So it's all these things that are just outside the norm. Eurovision being canceled, just I know it's not important. It's not nearly as important as a lot of other stuff, but Eurovision's been going as long as my father has been alive. It started in 1956, and it's never been canceled. Not through war, not through famine, not through riots, not through literal missiles going overhead in Tel Aviv. The year it was there in the 90s. Like nothing stops Eurovision. That's kind of part of the point of Eurovision. Uh, and yet it's gone. It's just gone. It's just not happening. And they're being weird rules lawyers about it and saying that the artists can come back if the countries want them to, but they have to have new songs, which, whatever. But I don't know. I wrote an entire book about like you can't turn the music off, but I guess you can turn the music off. It's very sobering. And I'm going to start writing Space Oddity in the next couple of weeks. So I guess cosmically the reason that I didn't finish it in November like I was supposed to was that this I was supposed to see this happen before I sat down to write it. Ugh. It's all just a fucking mess, guys. I don't know what to tell you. It sucks. Uh, yeah, so Josephine says it's the ninth Sabat. Eurovision being canceled broke my heart, says Rachel. They are gonna Jessica, they are gonna do well, not officially, but there are several sort of big name commentators and fans that are gonna do some kind of stream of it. I'll probably do something. Um, but it doesn't like for those artists who work so hard, it doesn't really change it. And it doesn't change it for Rotterdam and it doesn't change it for anything really that like for the rest of Eurovision time, which like it or not, it's a big part of the 20th century history. And you can chart history through Eurovision. Like there's going to be an asterisk by this year, and it's the year it didn't happen. This is going to be the year that things didn't happen. You know, We're all going to look back on that. We're going to be talking about this year for the rest of our lives. I'm going to be telling Sebastian about how he was a little kid on a plane begging me to blow bubbles because he loves bubbles so much at 30,000 feet, and crying because there were no bubbles to be had. Uh, Hi, Coprodic. Hello. But yeah, we're gonna be talking about it forever. It's gonna be like 9/11 or Challenger or JFK. One of those things where what you were doing is a topic of bar conversation. How you spent your quarantine. Uh, I keep thinking about that tweet about how Shakespeare wrote King Lear when he was quarantined for the plague. And the tweet kind of pisses me off, even though I have every intention of writing a, at least so novel or finishing it while I'm quarantined. Get off my back. Like, that seems like so much pressure to just put on people. Like, we're all just trying to get through this. And, like, we're just trying to, like, wipe our asses. Like, that is a challenge at the moment. Shakespeare didn't have to worry about that. He could not wipe his ass and everything would be fine. Nobody was. Uh, like, we're all just trying to conquer pajamas at this point. And I think asking for King Lear is maybe a little bit much. I I just feel like, yes, art comes from trauma. It does. King Lear is not about the plague, by the way. Art comes from trauma. Art comes from trauma after you're done with the trauma. Like, that's how you process it. You don't do the art while you're being traumatized. Like, that's very difficult. I think that was just a lot to expect. And it kind of sent me into a tailspin of like, oh, well, you know, uh, I did Fairyland during the last one, so obviously I have to do the greatest thing I've ever written again, just to get myself through. And it's 10 years later, and I'm sadder, and my gray matter was stripped out by creating another human being, and like I don't know what I have to say about like whimsical magic at the moment. But of course, I am writing a middle grade book about whimsical magic right now. God damn it! Uh, so I don't know. But yeah, that tweet really upset me. I think about it every day. I'm like, I'm not making King Lear. I'm not. I made I made breakfast. Like, I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm glad that Larissa says that tweet pissed a lot of people off. I'm glad that I wasn't the only one. But like it just, somebody today when I was tweeting about like stay inside was like, oh, don't eat takeout and pizza while you're staying in quarantine. You have to exercise because that even if your life is saved by quarantine, you'll die from being a fat, I guess. And as someone who is currently a fat, like, it's not my job. It's not my problem to like police people's BMI. Like, if stuffing your face with pizza gets you through this, stuff on, McDuff. So yeah. Anyway, I forgot where that was going. We're definitely 2 questions into Sean's. So let's face ID this up. All right. 3, I have long suspected you don't read these in advance. You think? What makes you think that? Not gonna lie, I have a box of Hot Pocket stash, Capradic. I have never bought as many groceries as I bought the day after we got back. I suited up. See, suit up, like from How I Met Your Mother, is not gonna mean the same thing anymore. It's gonna mean surgical masks and Purell and rubber gloves, and that's what I did to go into town and buy food. So we're fully stocked up here. Like, we don't have any ice cream, but we have everything else. And we're super low on milk because the kid goes through a ton of it. But we're well beyond Hot Pockets. We are stuffed. We're islanders, we buy in bulk anyway, which is actually kind of difficult because there's no Costco or anything. There's no big bulk store in Maine. Yeah, we'll be lucky to get out of this alive, let alone leered. Yeah, yeah. Lear is also he didn't like invent that story. That story's been around forever. He slapped some names on it and made the words prettier. If more of us could get away with that, I think that we might have more King Lears written during the plague times. But yeah, I don't know. Get off my back. I don't have to be Shakespeare. I can be myself. Myself made breakfast. Myself wrote a short story. Fine. uh, so, I long suspect you don't read these in advance. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. Dixie did 60 pixie flips. The sixth sick sheik's sixth sheep's sick. Now are we still friends? Of course, Sean, we're always friends. And 4, can we all Zoom together sometime for a karaoke party? I got to sang. Okay, what the fuck is Zoom? Everybody keeps talking about Zoom now. I'm old. I don't know the new things. I just like deal with TikTok and all that shit. What's Zoom? Some kind of new streaming thing that's not Twitch, I guess. I only got a Twitch account last year. Make me get new accounts and things. I haven't updated like my bands in Facebook in 10 years because I just refuse. I refuse to make new profiles. God damn it. I don't want to write any more new profiles. Shouldn't have to do that anymore. Zoom is expensive. Skype, it's the new video conferencing software. Okay. Yeah, we can do a karaoke over Zoom. Actually sounds like a pretty good idea. And Meng says, "What?" in all caps. What did I say? I don't know. Red leather, yellow leather. Marzi says, "How are all the critters?" P.S. Anytime the Decibel Jones wants to show up and save us, we'll welcome him. Yeah, I'll put in a call for Des. We could use him about now. The critters are super butt mad that we left for 3 weeks. Lumen ate a lot of things, including, and I feel like we've become friends, so I can share my anger with you. I got a pair of mucklucks, which are like soft, fuzzy, but then they have hard, good, grippy soles. It's kind of bootsy things. And she fucking ate them. She just ate them. She ate my whole shoe. And I guess that was her revenge. She also ate one of Sebastian's shoes. Those I got for free, so I'm not so mad about those. I'm mad about mine. Lumen! Oh, she is just acting out a lot. But she's been a lot better with Sebastian. They were playing a game, which I can only assume is called Baby Tries to Take a Bone Away from Dog. And she was gentle and loving with him, but she ate my goddamn shoe. She ate my shoe, you guys. She might as well have just eaten money. Also, she pooped out a rubber surgical glove today. So she's doing her part to remain hygienic, I guess. Super gross. That the things that dog has pooped out, like we don't even know what she's eaten sometimes until she poops, and just like an entire battery falls out of her or something. And that's not hyperbole. That's a thing that fell out of her body a couple months ago. She just is. You can't leave her alone for a second. She has pica, dog pica, or something. Like all she wants to do is just my shoes. They were so warm. You would wear them both inside and outside. They're nice. Byron's fine as he did that stuff. I thought she would grow out of it. I've never had a dog like this. And she never did. But I was convinced every time we saw her just like suck something down, that was going to be the end of her. She has eaten more socks than you can possibly imagine. And now that there's tiny baby socks, those are just like snacks. She eats so much stuff. She ate parts of a Kindle. She devoured, crunched up, and then ate parts of a Kindle. It's unsettling. Like it's uncanny. Not good. She's like Kirby, only she doesn't take their powers. She just poops horribly. Yeah. Yeah, no. I was just like going through the catalog of all my stuff that she's eaten. She really likes to eat my clothes, but she doesn't really go for a lot of shoes, except when I love them. When I really love them, then she eats them. She ate a pair of slippers last year, and they weren't expensive. They were just really nice, and she ate them. And now she ate my mucklucks that were expensive, and I'm very upset about it. So Kevin says, "How great was that last Star Wars Clone Wars episode?" I don't know because I have never watched that. Um, no, that might seem weird. Oh crap! That reminds me of a deadline I missed. Shit. I have to send an email when this is over. Anyway, they'll forgive me because of the plague. I tried to watch Clone Wars. I'm a bad geek. Uh, I couldn't. It just was so battle scene heavy, and I'm sure that it improves. I know, gasp. Uh, I'm sure that it's not all battley, but like I don't really like a lot of those characters anyway, and it just wasn't what I was looking for. But I'm a picky bitch. I didn't really like the Mandalorian until late in the game either. So I don't know. Maybe I'll try it again sometime. Sebastian will probably like it when he's older. I don't know. I just could never get into Clone Wars. Um, in other words, what are some current TV shows or movies that you're planning on catching up on? Well, I was super into Picard before we went to Australia, and I couldn't figure out any way to watch it down there. So we are way behind in the finales this week. So that's exciting. Drag Race has started again. Ooh, is anyone a Drag Race fan? Because there is so much drama, and I say that as though the drama is spicy, but it's actually just sad and upsetting. Um, One of the queens from Drag Race has turned out to be like a super gross sexual predator, and they have had to disqualify her, and are sort of frantically re-editing the season to pretend like she's not the star of the season, which she clearly is. Um, so that's kind of ruined the show because every time you see her face, you think about this very graphic stuff that she did that her victims have come forward with, and she basically immediately admitted to it. Um, so it's that all happened. And then another one of the queens has accusations as well. So it's just a really uncomfortable show to watch right now, unfortunately, where it should be. It usually is my happy place show. What else am I catching up? Well, right now I'm watching a bunch of Voyager, which I didn't watch in real time. I watched the first two seasons in real time, and then I was in college, so I got busy and kind of wandered off. And then I moved to the UK, so I just didn't finish watching the show. So now I'm like watching my way through Voyager, which is good comfort watching. People may or may not know what an entire Trekkie I am, so that I have this much Star Trek to watch is really nice. Unfortunately, I kind of hate most of the people on Voyager. Not most. It's Neelix Chakotay. It's mostly Neelix and Chakotay. Harry Kim's fine. Oh, and Paris. Paris sucks. He's the worst. Oh, I can't stand any of the three of those dudes. They're just like the three douchmen of the apocalypse. I cannot stand them. Janeway's fine. The Doctor is great, and Seven of Nine, for all that it is almost her costumes are like I'm embarrassed for her. She's functionally naked in every episode. Like, yes, her body's amazing, but like there is nothing serious about those costumes. It's just so that people can ogle her. And I feel bad for Jerry Ryan. Poor Jerry Ryan has been exploited so much in her life. But it's like Miranda from Mass Effect. Like everything is just on display. Apparently, she couldn't even breathe properly in the first iteration of the outfit. It caused her like no end of health problems. But yeah, so but she's a great character for all of that, and people complain that she was brought on to sexify the show, but she's one of the best characters on it. Paris is just God, he's everything that I don't like about dating men. Like just or dating men in the early 90s where like you could still meet some of them who were legitimately fixated on being some kind of 50s kind of guy with a cigarette pack rolled up in their sleeve and cars and oh, I hate Paris. Chakotay is just like everyone's no breakfast, no nothing. Bad stepdad. And Neelix is just again a predator. Cannot stand him. Hate every episode that he is the center of. He is the worst. Didn't they? Yes, they put in 7 to try and improve the most sort of philosophical things to dig into. There aren't any other characters with as much conflict other than the holographic Doctor in Voyager. So God, she gets so much more to work with than Troy, the last person who had to be in a cat suit every episode. So I like Seven, and in Picard, she really gets to sort of be a serious person. One of the things I love about Picard is that all of these people who made the best out of a you know very tropey 90s shows now get to be in what TV is now, is these beautiful sets and these high concept plots, and where they get to sink their teeth into things and look amazing doing it, and they deserve that. um I will watch a whole freaking series of Seven the way she is in Picard. Also, she's 50. What the hell? I hope I look like that when I don't look like that now. So I don't know why I'm saying I hope I look like that. Yeah. The first episode of Picard is totally heart wrenching, and I gather so are recent ones. It's very hard not to be spoiled, but I'm mostly not spoiled. Australian Legolas in Picard, and his name means Star Trek in Elvish, so it really is Australian Legolas. I hope his character gets better because, oof, it's very like when you're running a role playing campaign and somebody is super fixated on just their own plot and always trying to force everybody to play their own game, because he doesn't fit into the story at all at the episode I'm at. I'm hope that he comes into it more later. Uh, so yeah, Picard, I'm really looking forward to catching up on. I also never finished the most recent series of Castle Rock, which I do want to finish. Um, Again, it was fine. I just kind of wandered off. Um, yeah, I definitely have stuff that I'm looking forward to, but see, here's the problem with me and with television watching these days. I It's the same thing like right after I had the baby, and then it got better, and then now it's worse. I couldn't handle anything like emotionally engaging for a while. I just watched like Love Island and garbage, because by the end of the day I was just so emotionally exhausted that like asking me to invest any feeling in something other than my child or my book was too much. Um and that kind of got better. And now we're in the plague. So like uh, I don't know if you've seen Hulu lately, but they have a whole special page where it's the coronavirus, literally silhouettes of floating coronavirus in the background, and then it has like pandemic-related television programming, like and a documentary about Margaret Atwood. I guess because of *Handmaid's Tale*, like dystopia and pandemic programming with coronavirus floating in the background. I'm like, oh my god, Hulu, I'm streaming to get away from this. Obviously, I don't tune into you for information about what's going on in the world around me. I tune into you for Love Island and garbage and sometimes Voyager and comfort shows. Why are you doing this? Why do you have to have like floating? Oh, if I never see that squoosh ball coronavirus thing again, I was just staring at that on the Hulu screen today, going, "Who decided this? Who made this corporate decision that this was the good thing to throw up on the screen and then have like mandatorily on everyone's splash home page?" Jessica says, according to Netflix, what's trending in Canada is frigging Contagion. I'm just really people less pandemic. Okay, so I watched Contagion like 2 nights ago when I couldn't sleep because the baby was up every half an hour. Contagion's awesome. It's really, really good. And it is the most realistic pandemic movie that's out there. And it is so uncannily what's happening now. The difference is that the virus in Contagion has about a 20 to 30% fatality rate, and ours is much lower. But other than that, it is what's happening. They use the phrase social distancing, which I hadn't heard until I had to do it. Except apparently I did hear it in 2011 in Contagion. It's just a really good movie. I don't know, like it's over in the end. Society is entirely destroyed, but it's over. I don't know, there's something kind of comforting about it. Also, Jude Law's Australian accent isn't bad. It's not great, but it's better than a lot of, Australian accents in movies, and he gets vowels really right sometimes. Australian vowels are tough because they just try to use all of them, uh, in various orders, where most of us would use one. But, yeah, like the way he says Lorraine is very good. I don't know. I notice this stuff now. So I watch Contagions. I can't judge about that. Um, yeah, no, it's relevant. But I don't want it on my Hulu page with coronavirus floating behind it. God, ugh, ugh. Yeah, Josephine. I mean, I know it's still not good, but it's better than. I mean, honestly, like the Good Place girl was way worse. I would like to say I don't know what it is about the Australian accent that is so difficult for non-Australians to do. Because like most actors can do some kind of passable RP. Like most British people can do an American Southern accent decently, although they've never heard that like each state has a different one. Uh, but like Australian accents seem to be nearly impossible for American speakers and even a lot of British actors to do. Um, man, like I was with a Russian for all of 6 months before I could do a Russian accent really well. I've been with an Australian a lot longer than that, and I can't even say one word in an Australian accent. It is I can't even like tell my mouth what to do to make those sounds. It's wonderful. I love Australian accents. Now they're total comfort listening to me, but I don't know how they do that. It's it. Josie says the trick is you have to unhinge half of your face and let it hang slack. That's awesome. Uh, also says that the streaming services seem to be really pushing the whole pandemic type films. Well, I mean, what else are they going to do? Like, I don't know. It There's no like making a murder or anything that like everybody's going to watch right now, though. It's very strange. Yeah, consonants. Yeah, nah, mate. Uh, yeah, no, Australians definitely give up on saying a word halfway through it. Uh, which Sebastian has kind of picked up. He doesn't really want to do the ends of words at all. Kevin says any plague-related books I can recommend that are not written by Camus or Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Station 11's good. It's very well written. I love The Stand. Uh, yeah. Um, there's a lot of apocalypse books where it's sort of a vague disease and it's kind of unclear. Amnesia Moon. Um, I used to love medical thrillers when I was a kid. Like I really kind of binged through all of Robin Cook and all of that kind of stuff. Uh, yeah, but now like I wouldn't think the Outbreak or Andromeda Strain are things that really people are reading a lot these days. Um, I never finished Oryx and Crake. Uh, I might try again. I love Margaret Atwood, um, but it just didn't grab me for some reason. Oh my God, Linnea, Chemical for Leibowitz. I've tried so many times. So many times. I have 2 copies of it. I've tried, man. Like I just oh, it's one of those things where there's like a whole unique kind of slang and language to the book. And I know it's ironic for me to complain about that because like I alienate people with my prose all the time. I do it for a living. Uh, but I've just never been able to get into it. I really want to get into it. I like post-apocalyptic fiction a lot, and it's totally my thing, and I just can't seem to do it. Crapatic read Want by Cindy Pon recently. Oh, cool. YA Cyberpunk. I hadn't heard of that one. I know Cindy. She's great, but I hadn't heard of Want. It's a good title. Um, but yeah, so I guess I'm bad with the book recommendation. I'm looking. The reason I keep looking over there is those are my bookshelves. You can see my son's playroom as well, but those are my bookshelves. So I keep looking to be like, is there a plague book up there? There's a lot of plague books up there. You know what's a good one, but it's not obvious. Is Babel 17 by Samuel R. Delany? Uh, it's a language plague. It's not exactly what you're thinking, but it's really really interesting for a non-fatal but totally like personality rewriting plague. It's very good. Okay, so last one's not a question. Referring back to a comment by Sean, digital karaoke party sounds great. We'll try to put something like that together. Does anyone in the chat have any questions while I take sips? Apparently, we have played through the Final Fantasy VIII soundtrack, so we can all play the Jeopardy music in our head. Anybody? Bueller? Well, I guess we'll start, unless somebody posed a question. I guess we'll start wrapping things up then. Um, oh, what's my favorite thing about living on an island? Uh, I should have a better answer for that. I used to. Things have changed a lot on the island lately. I do like the seclusion of it. That like I'm nowhere near strip malls or anything like that. It's a tight knit community where everyone can know each other. But because it's a tight knit community, it also means that uh, like it can just feel so separate from the mainland and there's a lot of sort of cliques and it's hard to get to know people. I've lived here for 12 years and I still don't have very many friends on the island. It can be a very difficult place to make friends. And in some ways, I feel like I had more friends 6 or 7 years ago here than I do now, but I still have some. Um, and people are always coming and going and moving. Uh, there's a lot of drawbacks, but I I like the sense of I keep coming back to the sort of notion of medieval, like the medieval sense of a village. I don't think I would know my neighbors the same way if I lived in town. Um, and that can have good effects and bad effects. Uh, but my neighbors are pretty nice. People across the street, I don't know the new ones. There's been like 5 people in and out of that house in the last couple of years, so I don't know who the new people are. Um, but yeah, it's a really unique place to live, and it has a very unique and interesting history. The history of Peaks Island is very cool for another live stream. Uh, but it's definitely I was so enamored of it when I first moved here, and then like life just got a little more difficult. And I kind of started to feel over winter. I didn't grow in a place with a serious winter. I'm starting to feel a little bit over it, but it's just between January and March. I like it all the way up through December. But like there's nothing to look forward to in January through March. Just the shittiest part of winter, and nothing happening and nothing to do. So if I could skip that, then it'd be fine. Then you look at something like this, and it's quarantine, and it sucks, but I feel like there's more of a sense of us islanders in it together than we would have in a normal neighborhood. Um, we have all of our ways of connecting with each other, and there's a wonderful daycare on the island. And I like that self-containedness, uh, and I like that you have to make an effort to come and see me. You have to get on a boat. People used to always be like, "Oh my god, people know your address on the internet. Aren't you worried?" I'm like, I mean, if people want to kill me, they took a boat all the way, like they came all the way up here and took a boat, went over on Casco Bay Lines, and everything. Like, oh, they deserve a shot. Like, no, I'm not concerned at all. Like, it is such a pain in the ass to get here. Like, no, nobody cares. Uh, but yeah, no, and it is a very inspirational place to write. There's a lot of artists and writers on the island. Uh, and I have a really great setup with my office and everything down by I call it my office. Like it's a museum. It's an umbrella cover museum. I'm not going to go into it. Look it up. It's an umbrella cover museum. I've explained it 1,000 times. It in the winter and in the fall, winter, spring. It's my where I write my books. And so that's a really great setup. And it's a lovely, lovely place. In the summer, there's quite a few things to do. It can just be hard. in the winter. And of course, this is happening in the winter when most of us feel very isolated anyway. So it's difficult. Uh, oh, now we have a bunch of questions. What's my preferred type of wine? The driest red you can find, drier than wit, drier than Dorothy Parker's wit. This is not that dry. It is Cabernet Franc. It's medium dry from the Columbia Winery in Washington, which is where my sister-in-law works, and is quite nice. But I definitely Bordeaux is my favorite by far and away. Like a good Bordeaux is what I want. I like Chianti as well, but Chianti's not really a special occasion wine. It's just sort of a drink it wine. So yeah, I like dry reds. I like sparkling wine too, but I am not one of those Chardonnay or rosé ladies. I feel like it is required to drink rosé if you're a woman these days. I don't know. Like every girl I ever have a drink with is like rosé, and I'm just like, no, it tastes like shitty juice. I don't know. I don't know when it happened that like all the men started drinking IPAs and all the women started drinking rosés. I don't know why we have to do this. I don't know why we all just can't drink everything. It's all fine. Except it's not all fine. Rosé is gross. So Chardonnay. Ugh. Sarah says, "Will I tell Sebastian that his Auntie Donnie loves him and give him a big hug?" Of course I will. Of course I will. He asked for everybody at various points in Australia. I think he started feeling like, well, this is family, so like, where's the rest of them? Where's my people at? So he would just wander around asking for various people that he had seen previously in the year. It's very cute. Jessica says, "Am I going to play Final Fantasy 7R? Oh, the reskin. If people tell me it's good, I will see. I love Final Fantasy 7. It is one of my favorite games of all time. I have nothing but good memories of it. And I wouldn't want them spoiled by something shitty. So I'm going to wait and see what people say. Long. It's really long. It was long when I was in college, and I am way out of college now. So I don't know. I don't know about finishing it, but I'll probably at least play some of it at one point. I haven't finished Breath of the Wild. I haven't finished. Oh, they're going to make it all sandboxy too, and I can't stand that. I just want give me a linear plot. I have a job. I need like there to be an end to a game. I can't just play a game infinitely. Linnea says she's glad I haven't gone down the White Claw hole with everyone else I know. You only say that because you can't see the case of White Claw in the kitchen. It's not my favorite thing to drink, but I do like to mix it with vodka. It makes a good mixer, and then you get double booze. Yeah, no, White Claw is fine. It's fine. It's low calorie and it tastes fine, and it's sometimes I just don't really care about what kind of fancy beer, and I'm happy to have the girly mango drink. Yeah, more booze. That's right. See, it's a booze multiplier. It gives you there's like a plus 1.5 tops. It's only like 5%, so it can only give you 1.5 at the outmost. Have I seen the Orville? Yes, I love the Orville. It's awesome. Totally not what I expected. I thought it was just going to be a shitty Seth MacFarlane, offensive fart humor thing, but I was willing to give it a shot because it's science fiction. I'll watch almost anything if it's science fiction, and it's delightful. It's more the Next Generation than any of the new Star Trek shows. So yeah, I love the Orville. Can't wait for it to come back. I'm a little worried that it shifted to Hulu off of network television, but what are you going to do? You take what you can get. The end of last season was awesome. That's up there with any of the good Star Trek 2-parters, 3-parters. Excuse me. So yeah, no, love the Orville. I do think that it's Adrienne Palicki, isn't it? I think of her as Tyra from Friday Night Lights. I do think Tyra is the only one who's kind of miscast. I don't think she knows really how to handle that role. She is the only one who seems to have never seen Star Trek. She never seems to be quite comfortable, and I don't think she can handle the techno babble really very well. Only in the end of the last season with the time travel episodes did I really buy her in that character. Other than that, she always made me go on screen. But I did like her in those episodes, so maybe she will improve. Uh, who knows? Do I play board games at home? If Heath is watching this, he's supposed to be sleeping, but if Heath is watching this, he won't let me say yes because I never want to play and he always wants to play. But the problem is that board games suck for two people. They just do. I'm trying to find them and then we play them and he wants them to be good. And I'm like, but have you noticed how it's not good? And this game made us think that it was going to be all Indiana Jones adventure and it's actually just numbers, just like playing cards would be. But they put like a Marrakesh Bazaar on the cards and made you believe it was about buying shares and ships and things like that. So we haven't really found a board game that we can play well with two people. There's a card game we like to play called Phase 14. Heath loves to play board games if we ever can get two other people over here. I hate Settlers of Catan, which is the board game most people like to play the most. So that cuts me out of the cool board game club, I guess. If I enjoyed 15, the gameplay so far seems to be a lot like that. I did not play 15. I gave up on Final Fantasy when it stopped being Final Fantasy. That I have a lot of hot takes about. Final Fantasy after it really happened after 8, but way more after 9. 10 was a really reimagining of the series, and it was so successful that they kind of never got away from that. And they had a real bad run with after 10 of a couple of games that played themselves more than you got to play them, and I lost interest in that. So I haven't seriously played Final Fantasy for a really long time, which sucks because it used to be my favorite series, and I'd played everything up through 9. And I miss Final Fantasy. I miss I used to just hours and hours and hours and hours of my life devoted to Final Fantasy. And before I played Mass Effect, I would have told you that was my favorite game series. Oh, sorry, I lost my place in the chat. Uh, Tiny Epic Galaxies, great two-player. Oh, I didn't know Pandemic could be a board game. I just know the app game. I like this song to Xanarkand from Final Fantasy X, but I've never played any of the games. Final Fantasy 3 is my favorite. I actually love 8, which is kind of a controversial opinion in Final Fantasy fandom circles. People tend to not like the battle system in 8, but I felt like I really grokked it. I really came into my own and understood the Guardian Force system. Uh, I like the Materia system too from 7, but I like Guardian Forces a lot. I mean, look, man, they're like diamonds from His Dark Materials. Like you get your little furry companion. Well, they're not all furry. Shiva's not furry, but like your little awesome anthropomorphized cartoon companions to fight for you. I loved it. The animations were way too long, but pretty awesome. And I just loved I loved the music and the world, and there seemed to be so much more implications of the world than you actually saw, which in video games can feel like depth. I loved Adea. I loved all of it. It was great. I love that game. And I enjoyed playing it a little more than I enjoyed 7. 7 is a lot more challenging gameplay wise, so or at least I liked the gameplay of Final Fantasy 8 more, so it was easier for me. Um, and there weren't so many nitty gritty things to collect and find as there were in 7. Even the story of 7 is probably better. The story of 8 seems like it's going to be better all the way through, and then is not. I will say the end is very flawed and like you know, this evil witch turns up out of nowhere and you can't even say it's the third act. It's like the last third of the third act. It's bizarre. Um, but I find it comforting in a way that I don't necessarily find 7 comforting. 7 is a more confrontational game, confrontational narrative Shadow Colossus-y. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling about old ass video games. Uh, Jessica says, husband wants to let me know he my Mass Effect book, which she got him for Father's Day. Oh, the Mass Effect book, which is about a space plague, that I had to do a bunch of research on plagues and communicable diseases and exactly how they spread and how viral infection works, so that I know too much now, so that everything I see in the news I understand completely and can extrapolate all the way to Armageddon and back. Um, that one, I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. I genuinely am. I loved writing the book. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Part of me is kind of sorry I wrote it at this point because I do know too much. But it's yeah, yeah. Uh, Sean and McGuire helped me design my virus, which is one of the more fun afternoons I had over Skype with Sean and just like designing the precise disease to just rip everybody apart in space. Um, I guess I would probably find that a little less fun now. Again, the traumas that you're not like going to think about. Like we're all going to think about this stuff forever. It's just going to be part of our lives and part of our DNA because apparently 70% of us are going to get it at one point or another and a bunch of us will be asymptomatic. Like it is going to leave its mark on humanity's DNA and our psychological DNA and all the art we write. If you don't think every Eurovision song next year is going to be about this, you're crazy. It is. They're all going to be. And it's going to be in our books. It's going to be in everything we do for so long. And that's if it ends in a couple weeks. If it doesn't end in a couple weeks, we're just going to be suffering from it for a really long time. Then we're going to be making art about it for a really long time. Sarah says that she never played Mass Effect, but also adored the Mass Effect book. Yay! Thank you, Sarah. I'm glad. I mean, I've worked really hard to make sure that it was accessible to people who had never played the game. I love Mass Effect, but it's a long ass 3 games, 3 long ass games. I don't expect everyone to do it. Yeah, sequined hazmat suits. Wouldn't that be nice? I mean, that's my vote for a Eurovision costume for next year. Really. uh, I don't know. Maybe Finland or not Finland. Iceland will do it. The Iceland kids seem cool. Uh, yeah, I don't know, guys. Seahurk says, just want to say I appreciate you. I'm glad to follow you. I appreciate your books. Got me through many moments. Love Wild Child. Oh, thank you. It's we'll have to make some decisions about when to stop putting pictures of the baby online. But for right now, we really love being able to share his growing up with everyone and sort of document it for people who can't be with us for our digital village. And that's the thing, like, yeah, social distancing and all of that, it is hard. But a lot of us have been social distancing for a while because everyone we love lives far away. And that's sort of the world we live in. We have had a digital village for some time. A lot of us were part of the Live Journal diaspora. I certainly was, and before that, Diaryland, and before that, GeoCities. We learned to build these communities online, and we didn't even have streaming video then. We couldn't talk to each other at all. It was all text. So we've all been making jokes about how we've been training for this our whole lives, just because we're introverts and homebodies, but we have been training for it our whole lives. We just didn't know it. Been training to conduct our emotional selves over the internet and get the social sustenance we need from that. And that's going to come in very handy for those of us who know how to do it in the next weeks and even months. I would hope this is over by May, but I don't think it'll be over before. And I think that's more isolation than most people. Everyone's really coming together, and there's a lot of beautiful things you can see. And there's a lot of assholes who aren't taking it seriously at all, which is why this isn't going to be over on March 31st. But I guess I just hope we all survive. I hope we all I hope we all live to be traumatized from it, you know? I hope that the jokes stay jokes because a lot of them are very funny. I remember right before the election in 2016 thinking, I'm really looking forward to Hillary being elected because a lot of the stuff Trump says is pretty funny, and I would like to laugh at it. And I can laugh at it if he loses. They can go back to being jokes. He didn't lose, and they're never jokes. It's not funny at all. Uh, I would like the jokes that people are telling now to, you know, remain funny, and it won't if this goes on forever and ever. They won't. It won't be funny anymore. Even in a here's to our. I mean, you don't want to reference the Black Plague too much because that's pretty fucking grim. But this is a generation defining event, and we are living through it. We are living through somebody else's history lesson, uh, somebody's semester thesis in the future, uh, and it's impossible to tell. It's just impossible to tell who we're going to be at the end of it. It's a singularity in a certain way. Uh, the singularity was always defined as a technological advancement beyond which it was difficult to conceptualize or impossible to conceptualize life. And this is that black swan event, the singularity beyond which it's impossible to consider what life will become, uh, for people on one side of it to look through to the other side. And we just don't know. And maybe it'll be nothing. Wouldn't it be cool if April of next year everything's fine? Maybe not great, but everything's fine. And Trump isn't president anymore. And nobody has a virus named after a beer. It's not named after it, but nobody has beer virus. Uh, like the economy isn't in shambles. Progress is being made. Wouldn't it be nice if everything was just fine in a year? Maybe it will be, maybe it won't be. But and maybe we'll learn nothing. That's probably the best bet. We kind of are experts at learning nothing. Um, but I think that we will change whether we learn anything. And you wouldn't necessarily think a couple weeks of sitting around streaming Hulu would change us, but it will. And it's going to be more than a few weeks. C. Herc says, unfortunately, as a biologist, I'm not at all confident this will be over this year, but I hope we find a way through with as much kindness as we can. I'm ready for fine. Me too. Me too. I think we're all we're all ready for things to be normal. Nothing's been normal since 2016. Uh, and everybody's ready. I mean, if you don't think that's why Biden is winning, because people just want things to be normal again, like that's why. It's not because they love Biden. It's not because he's so awesome. It's that normal and fine is awesome. People just want to go back to ignoring politics. That's not even just American nature. It's human nature. We just want things to be on an even keel. I could go for some even keel, but nothing gets to stay even. It is a new decade. It's the 20s, so obviously we've got the new Spanish flu and new stock market crash. Um, I hope we're all got our flapper gear ready because we're headed right back to it. Um, I'm into gin. I could be fine with that. Uh, you know, worst comes to worst, we have a depression in the 30s, right? Ah, no, we'll have ours shortly. Um, Sarah, oh my God, Sarah, I did forget. I did forget. Uh, even though I've told the story since. Sarah, this will be very short because I couldn't possibly give it the time it deserves. Sarah and our friend Celia and I went to a spa for Celia's birthday. Celia likes things very hot, so she went into one of the hot rooms. Sarah and I went and then leave them for hateful strangers like us to lose our shit laughing over as a series of women named Tiffany and Alexis and Stephanie uh, wrote things like, and this is a quote, "You are the storm." She was talking to herself. Tiffany is the storm. Oh, it was so much. It was just so much. Uh, and a beautiful moment that I have now stripped of all of its glory to say it shortly and not spill our secrets, state secrets, turtle secrets. But but yeah, so no, I'm not going to wax depressing anymore. I look forward to a resumption of some kind of normalcy. I feel for people who work in the restaurant industry right now, including my family members who do. Uh, and no, sounds like Tiffany was flatulent. I forgot the context, which is that it was Tiffany's ancestors that visited her while she was getting a massage and whispered in her ear, "You are the storm." Very important. Um, yeah. Uh, so yeah, I hope that everybody's hanging in there. I hope everyone's doing okay. Thank you for coming to watch the stream. Thank you for supporting my Patreon. I mean, God, it's the song of my generation. Thank you for supporting my Patreon. But seriously, uh, you are what keeps us going. Um, you very much support this family, and we deeply appreciate it every month. And try to give as much back as we get from you guys. Um, and we'll just try to stick together. We'll do a few more. We'll do these live streams more in the next coming weeks, whether through Patreon or not. Between continents during the Great Modern Plague. Um, yeah, I love you guys. I I always wish that we could all live on an island together, in a village together. You know, I think that almost everybody who lives on this island would like to pick and choose the people they love to move them here, and I would love to have you all here, but you never can. That's been the story of my life before and now. So we'll just pretend where people have learned to congregate and create their tribes, and that'll be us until we can hug the people we love again. And I think that yeah, human touch is we're being reminded how important that is. Some of us are very isolated, uh, and I think hopefully we see a little more about what's important. That taking care of each other is one of the most important things about being here on planet Earth. And I'm going to be writing about that a lot in the coming weeks since it's a major theme of like all three books that I have due this year. Uh, and thanks for reminding me about that deadline I missed. I have to drop an email. All right, so I am going to sign off. I love all you very much. Thank you so much for your support. Uh, and we will see you again very, very soon. The back in my classicist days, I used to sign letters. I wrote letters as the Romans used to, which was "Si vales valeo," which means if you are well, I am well. And I believe that if you are well, I am well. Good night.